I don't know if you could tell from the video, but I am actually physically sitting in the path of Hurricane Hillary. Hurricane Hillary. It's been creeping up the coast from down in Baja, Mexico, and I'm in Southern California. It started to rain last night, but not that hard. And I'm actually not even sure if it's still considered or categorized as a hurricane at this moment. But the prediction was that Hurricane Hillary would strike Southern California sometime today. So we may still be in for a lot of rain and wind. I'm not sure, but as you can tell, I'm not too concerned. We did spend the day yesterday battening down the hatches. We've got sandbags from the local fire departments, put it along the garage and the doors and the windows that were right up against the ground, both at our house and also at my mother-in-law's and my brother-in-law's. So we're prepared. And it may just go away. It may not cause any damage. It may be, Stormageddon doesn't actually land, which would totally be fine. I won't feel bad at all for being prepared. It was really interesting too yesterday because my daughters, who are 16 and 14, were watching us get prepared, and they said, "Are you guys just over-exaggerating, or what? Why are you making so much drama out of this?" And as my wife said, we're not making drama out of it. We're just being prepared. We're being cautious, right? And I think it's an interesting lesson for them to learn. And I struggle with that all the time. Where does my faith and my wisdom meet? Because sometimes they seem to be, again in appearance, in conflict. God, the universe, the source, is in no way surprised by Hurricane Hillary and has full control over all of that and loves us and wants to protect us, right? But I also know that storms cause lots of damage and they cause loss of life, and that's something to be cautious of. And I think this is that intersection of these two paradoxical phrases that I say often, and that is, our job is the effort. We never give up. We do the work and the prayer, right? But then we always surrender the outcomes to God's source universe. I don't worship the universe, and I don't believe that the universe has me in its hands. It's the God of the universe, just for clarity there. And again, that's my belief. And it has been very sustainable over the years. So here I am sitting at a patio I think it's the highest point in the city where I live, looking at the skies behind me through the camera here. And it's gray, and there's a light drizzle, nothing to be worried about at the moment. So we're doing my part, right? Never give up, and allowing God to do their part, always surrendering. I've given a lot of thought to what I hear often in the media and what I read, and especially the kind of the mentors and coaches that I follow, and that is this affirmation of a mantra that I was taught in my graduate program at Pepperdine. I was in their Master of Organizational Development program, and one of the mantras that they taught us throughout the 2-year module was that you create the world you pay attention to. You create the world you pay attention to. I don't think I'd ever heard it put that way, and I didn't really fully understand it, and I was kind of skeptical at first. But over time, and that was 2000 to 2002 that I was in that program, so over the last 20 years, I found that to be profoundly true, in the sense that the world we live in is the world that we perceive, and our perception is based on where we give our attention. And so there's lots of phrases that go around about that where your attention goes, the energy flows, right? And that our reticular activating mechanism or reticular activating system in our brain is constantly sorting data, the terabytes of data that's coming in from all directions through our senses and through our intuition at all times. And to not be overwhelmed, our minds automatically sort through these things and look for patterns. And so this reticular activating system, it's looking for patterns, and once we lock onto it, we give our time, our attention, our focus to it, then it keeps bringing it to our conscious attention. And that becomes the world we live in. And the classic example is, let's say that you go out to buy a car and you wanted to buy a car that not everybody else has, right? And you fall in love with a maroon Prius. Not the first style, of course, because that had no power, but a modern maroon Prius. And you think, I've seen Priuses, but I haven't seen any maroon ones, and that's the color that I love. And you go and you buy it, and as you drive off the lot, and you drive home from the car lot to your home, you see myriads of maroon Priuses, and you're like, what? Where did those come from? The truth is, they were always there. It was just that your mind and your brain is figuring out what should I pay attention to so that I can push out and ignore all that other stuff to keep my focus, right? To stay aligned. So the reticular activating system is working in favor of that idea that we create the world we pay attention to, because it brings it to our mindful awareness. Not something that wasn't there, but something that was there all along. But I thought about that a lot, right? You create the world you pay attention to, and it really is a matter of perception. But there is more to this equation. And so it was just in the last few days, I started toying with, is there some sort of math equation I could come up with this? And here's a great irony about me. I was always really good at math. Math came easy to me. I often tutored the other math students in my classes, even as we got into advanced math. But when I left high school, I didn't want to pursue math or really any careers related to math. And so I went off to Bible college. They didn't even offer a math class. Go figure. So I was playing with this idea, and a few things came together in my mind that I think formulated a pretty good equation for how we transform the world and ourselves in our world. And it had these elements. It starts with attention, like paying attention to the noise of whatever truck is going around behind me. That's a distraction. So let's take distraction out of the equation, because that's a minus, right? But if you take attention, and not just attention, what you pay attention to, and then you add intention, right? So now you've got a purpose, or a why, A-I, and then E, and I think the E could either stand for energy or emotion, and those two are really closely tied together. You could even say that emotion is E, motion, energy and motion. So you got A and I and E, attention, intention, energy, and then A for action. So this is where we take action, which is required. As I've quoted Robin Sharma many times, he says that inspiration or ideation without implementation is just delusion. So action is required, and that would equal transformation. And originally I put plus signs between each of these. A, I, E, A equals T. Attention plus intention plus energy and emotion plus action equals transformation. I thought that's pretty good. And then it dawned on me that plus is more like an addition, and there's really a lot more power to each of these elements. And so I changed the plus by turning it 45 degrees into a multiplication sign. That really makes sense to me, that my attention times my intention times my energy and emotion times my action, that's what equals transformation. And the reason why times is so important is because if any one of those elements is zero in the equation on the left side of the equal sign, then the whole thing is zero. All are required: attention, intention, energy, emotion, and action, in order for us to get to transformation, or as is often said in these days, manifestation, right? And I'm a guy of acronyms. I've shared many acronyms in my blog at mojoe.substack.com and in my conversations on the Wisdom app. So I thought, well, that's not really very easy to remember. I wanted to come up with a mnemonic, or however you say that word, mnemonic, to help people remember it, to help me remember it, right? So I started playing with those letters again, and it came to mind, and I love this, it came to mind that what if I change the equation so that it uses what we were taught as kids are the vowels in our language. And I don't know if you remember, and I'm sure you do, that when you were a kid, we were taught there were consonants and vowels in the English language, and the vowels were A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, right? A, E, I, O, U, 5 vowels, sometimes Y. And so I took those and I thought maybe I can substitute the exact same meaning, but using A, E, I, O, U, because it's easy to understand and easy to remember. So A actually stays in the same place, attention. And E, we've already got that in the equation. E is energy and emotion. I, we've got intention. Those three were super easy. Then it came to the fourth one, O. So O has to replace action. And what came to mind was, okay, operation, right? We need to operationalize these more surreal or cerebral things or emotional things. So we take our attention, and our A and our E is emotion and energy, I, intention, and we operationalize it, A-E-I-O, well, then that gives us U instead of T. T was transformation. U. And so, well, U, you could say represents you. Y-O-U, right? So this is really interesting. I love how this evolved, that A-E-I-O equals U, attention, emotion, intention, operationalized equals you. And really, it's who you become. And then I put all that down, I wrote it down, I put it in a blog, I shared it with some friends, and I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought, you know what, there's two things here. It's not just you as in this is who you are, but it's actually the transformation piece, that you've actually become something more, something different, something you're moving in this direction of expansion and feeling and becoming who you really want to be and who you can be. And so I thought, let's put some more power in that. Let's make it you squared, right? Not just you, but you times you. So it's the unstoppable you. Two U's, unstoppable you. A times E times I times O equals you squared. Your attention, your emotion and energy, your intention, which is your Y, sometimes Y, fits right into our vowel mnemonic here, operationalized, that's the motion, that's the action that you take, equals you squared, unstoppable you. And if we can harness the energy of those letters and what they mean and keep them all in play, we can see true transformation in our lives and the world around us. As many of you know, I was a contestant on Wheel of Fortune, and it actually was a vowel that stopped me from winning the whole thing. I was like in the lead by far, and I called out E in one round, but E had already been taken, so I lost the spin of the wheel, and it went on, and somebody else won a vacation package and moved on to the final round. And I was like, oh, right? I wasn't paying enough attention. And so I just made this guess that stopped me in my tracks. Really important here. But I gotta say, at first I was thinking, I'm gonna just remove E from my life because E stopped me. So instead of being Joe, J-O-E, I'm gonna be J-O. But I've decided to keep the E in as a reminder of how important it is to pay attention. And all that to say, as a former Wheel of Fortune contestant, do you want to buy a vowel